The panel is our political system being hijacked? It's a panel discussion with moderator John Ventry, who is a recent candidate for the governor of Pennsylvania. And John Ventry showed up to debate when the other guys wouldn't. So it shows you that John has some solid constitutional principles and message the other guys didn't want to face up against. We also have Teddy Daniels, Vets for Trump. He is a combat veteran of Afghanistan, a good friend of mine. He just ran for Congress the last period against Congressman Matt Cartwright and came up pretty close until all those fake votes came in. And he most recently ran for lieutenant governor, and he's going to be able to tell you how that our electoral system has been invaded. And we also have Darrell Brooks. My friend Darrell Brooks is here. And Darrell was one of those poll workers down in Philadelphia that they wouldn't let in to see the ballots and the ballots being counted. And they put up all the cardboard in the windows, and they put up all the cow catcher fencing. And, here's Darrell on the other side saying, wait, this isn't right. So, and myself is on this panel, Frank Scavo, just the guy who likes to tell you about the Constitution and how to fight all this crapola. So, gentlemen.
Have a seat. I also want to say that I put out a weekly Never Socialist newsletter. I'm up to issue number 194. So just give me your email and I'll put you on the list. I think it's probably one of the best weekly newsletters of stories you don't see in the mainstream media, because you're not going to see them there. Okay, let's start this panel. Is our political system being hijacked? So the first question is a question I got in the third debate in Lawrence County that we did. And I'm not going to tell you how the candidates answered that. There was 10 governor candidates there. I know how I answered it, and I was the only one that said he didn't win legitimately, so you got your answer. But here's the interesting thing, is that the following day when I looked it up on YouTube to watch the debate, that question was removed from the video. They removed that question. And I knew that because the TV station was very liberal. As soon as I talked to them, I knew they were Democrats. They removed that. And that video is up on my YouTube site. Question gone. So let's start with that question. And we're going to start with Teddy on each of these. Did Joe Biden win legitimately? Teddy goes first.
That's a big no. He did not win. He was installed. Okay? Is Joe Biden the president in the White House? Yes. Did he win that position legitimately? No. And I'm sure later on as this goes, we'll talk about COVID, mail-in ballots, how legislatures changed their voting requirements, unconstitutionally, by the way, during the manufactured COVID crisis.
Well, I can speak to Pennsylvania, and the answer is no. And I'll tell you why. And I'll share with you what I shared with the January 6th committee after I was subpoenaed. I'm an elected Republican committee man. I know state election law. First of all, Act 77, which the whole election was not legal because of the way Act 77 was passed. But that's getting into the weeds. I will tell you this, and it's what I told them. Catherine Bookvar, Secretary of State of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, was in contempt of Justice Alito, United States Supreme Court, when he told Catherine Bookvar not to count and commingle the votes that had come in late and come in without secrecy envelopes. So for that reason alone, Joe Biden is not the president because of Pennsylvania's votes. There's no conjecture. It's not Georgia where a phone call was made. It's not Arizona where maybe. It's not Wisconsin. This is Pennsylvania where the election law was fraudulent, and the Secretary of State, Catherine Bookvar, is still in contempt of SCOTUS, which I heard, by the way, local attorneys and lawyers have cleared her of that. But you go talk to Justice Alito. He'll tell you what he told them. Don't count the votes.
Darrell.
Oh, it was definitely stolen. I'm Darrell Brooks, the Philadelphia poll worker. You know, as a poll worker the first time in Philadelphia, seeing the travesty, the disgusting way how they treated Trump poll workers. There was so much hell inside the convention center. You know, we argued, we protest. They tried to throw me out 3 or 4 times. The things that I seen was so, to me, it was devastating. You know, you call this America, and the filthiness that's happening at the convention center. So I came out with the book, 37 Days Disenfranchisement of a Philadelphia Poll Worker. As I'm in Oaks, at the Oaks Gun Show, there were people coming up and telling me, well, Darryl, I'm a Democrat, and yes, the convention center in Philadelphia, the election has always been crooked. 30, 40 people have came to me and said that my father worked elections, and he told me about some of the crooked things that he did. I mean, this is like, it goes all the way back to the 1950s. And when we had the press conference, me, Giuliani, and other ones, the media tried to destroy me and Giuliani. And, you know, it was no stolen election. How could that happen in the city of brotherly love? Well, now people are coming out and saying in Philadelphia, who I've talked to and said this was a crooked election. And it's been crooked for 30, 40, 50 years in the city of brotherly love. So the idea is that we have to stand up. I asked them, are you happy now? Are you happy you have Biden as your president? And they are hurting. Gas prices, food prices, inflation, all these things that they say, well, I didn't vote for this. Well, said, yes, you did. Were you allowed to happen because you didn't say anything about the election fraud? When we said it was an election fraud, when he said that they stole, they lied, they cheated, the people in Philadelphia, I'm only saying Philadelphia, which is a big city, they didn't say anything because they just hated President Trump so much. Now they're saying, I wish President Trump would be president of the United States.
All right, thank you, Darryl. All right, second question regarding January 6th. The Constitution says we, the people, have a right to change our government when it no longer represents us. Are we getting close to doing that, or are there outside influences steering Obama's change? Teddy.
Oh, boy, I think that point is come and gone. What do you guys think? Are you happy with your government? Man, I love this country, but I hate my government. I hate it. You know, all somebody needs to do is open a history book, and I say this all the time to people. If you take a look at what happened in Nazi Germany back in the 1930s, it wasn't just overnight that a society of people decided to put other folks on train cars and take them to concentration camps. It was a slow and gradual effect that initially started with the Reichstag fire. That's how the Nazis took power in Germany. They set fire and blamed it on an opposing party. Sound familiar?
Yep.
You guys, seriously? Okay? Who was involved in January 6th? It wasn't God-fearing patriots. Those were not the agitators in the crowd. I was there. Open any liberal rag newspaper out there, and nearly 2 years later, Teddy Daniels was in D.C. on January 6th. Well, no shit. I posted that up myself. But what happened in Germany is the same thing that's happening now in America, to where the Nazis took power. You had the media starting to dehumanize a group or a class of people. And then a nation compromised their values once, and then it was easier for a nation to compromise their values again, and again, and again, till it became status quo. And it was okay to load people onto rail cars and take them to concentration camps. Folks, if you take a look at the similarities of the fight that we're fighting right now in our nation, it's very similar. No wonder there's one party that wants to burn history books and tear down statues and erase history. You got to learn from it. If you don't learn from it, you're doomed to repeat it.
Yep. Frank.
Thanks, John. The run-up to January 6th was really November 3rd. I mean, your government was out of control long before. And I can tell you this, in Pennsylvania, because remember, I'm going to focus on Pennsylvania, because this is the Keystone State where liberty was born, and our guys screwed it up. That Pennsylvania legislature, I heard on the news, Catherine Bookfar made an announcement about ballots and the deadlines. And I was immediately like, our legislature, the Pennsylvania state legislature, has to do something. They have to find her in contempt of the state legislature and state law because she was overruling it. And guess what the Pennsylvania state legislature did? Nothing. And that's one of the United States' largest houses of government is the Pennsylvania state legislature. They're the second highest paid in the nation behind California. And what did they do? They were in on it. They didn't do anything. The local guys didn't do anything. The guys at the top didn't do anything. So, yes, John, my answer to that question is in Pennsylvania, proven.
Darrell.
January 6th, I was in Washington that day and to go see President Trump speak. I remember I had to be on the bus at 4 o'clock and coming back. And we're all there, January 6th.
Different buses, but
yeah, we're
all there.
Get on the bus. So, at 4 o'clock, I'm on my way out. 2 weeks later, a guy I was helping, he had a heart attack. And he called me at work and said the FBI came by the house. And they sat down with me for an hour. I said, wow. He said, call these guys now. So I called the guys and the FBI. I was shaking a little bit. My hand was nervous. I'm at work, FBI. Called them and they said, Mr. Brooks, you're a hard man to find. I said, well, thank you. And and he asked me, was you in Washington? I said, yes. Did you go in the Capitol building? I said, wasn't me. How long did you stay? I left 4 o'clock. Are you sure you left? What time did you leave? I said, I got about 50 individuals to say I wasn't at the Capitol building inside. And first they asked me, are you planning on taking over the government of the United States? So I'm looking around. And, it was crazy because, how did they track my friend's house? How did they get to his house? I was there for like 2 weeks. Somebody had to told. There's always a snitch somewhere. It made me realize about January 6th. It made me realize about this government, the things that they were doing. I know the history of, what they did to Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, and any other kind of individuals that were challenging the American government. And it was the first time, because of January 6th, they said they had 2 complaints. And I was like, well, like the song, it wasn't me. And then they were like, I asked them, are you guys arresting me? They just said, no, as long as you don't plan on taking over the government. And if I was, I wouldn't tell you anyway.
Okay.
But
10 seconds.
But it was just sad the way they came after me, looking for me, and they had to know, they read my book. And I was like, okay. But it's just sad what Americans, because we support our president, because we're activists and we're MAGA supporters, what they will do to come after you, no matter what. And the enemy is there. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I probably should have prefaced that you got about 90 seconds each, because we only got about 5 minutes per question. Okay, third question. This is kind of related. George Soros put $25 billion into Open Society's foundation. They're the parent of PA United, and they have 6 counties that they've targeted. They're mostly out by me, Allegheny, Westmoreland, Erie, etc. Is Soros or some other group behind the progressive agenda? Because I don't believe things like this just happen. Somebody's paying for it and somebody's driving it. So is it Soros, or is there something even larger or something else behind this change? Teddy.
Go read a newspaper, turn on the TV. You know, I've seen the liberal media walking around here today. Spell my name right, it's I-E-L-S, not I-A-L-S. They are the biggest purveyors of lies and propaganda that is out there. The biggest ones. So, yeah, Soros. Look at CNN, MSDNC, the Washington Post, Rolling Stone, New York Times, Guardian, Vice, Independent. Folks, I've made all of them. And I want to thank you. I want to thank you, members of the liberal media. You have made me what I am. Thank you, because without you, I wouldn't be anything. It was your lies and your propaganda that made me who I am. So I guess I am kind of indebted to you. Thank you.
Frank.
Absolutely. Great one, Teddy. George Soros and others. Look, this has been a significant march through all of our halls of justice, of our schools, of our neighborhoods. This has been long planned. This didn't just happen. We're seeing the result of it now because they're almost done, and they're spiking the football. And that's why, believe me, with the election of Donald Trump, you know, people said, can you support Trump? When I saw 60,000 Pennsylvanians switch from Democrat to Republican, you know what I said? You bet your ass I can support Donald Trump. And that's what happened. You're all being awakened, not woke, you're being wakened to the fact that your country's being stolen. We're all under assault, and George Soros is only part of it, but yes.
Darren.
Yes. Well, my next book is coming out in December. It's called Welcome to America, The Cultural Marxism Taking Over America. A lot of these things, yeah, you have, CNN, MSNBC, you have schools like Princeton University who's teaching this cultural Marxism. Washington Post, is it Washington Post? You have these colleges, and then you have Black Lives Matter that raised over $30-40 million and is pushing their agenda with that money, have pushed that agenda. They're now understanding that they've been using this money not for to help the people, but to help themselves. So you have different organizations there. George Soros is one of them. Glenn Beck, he loves George Soros. He loves him a lot. But, it's one of these things, people, it's more than George Soros. It's a lot of individuals, people in Hollywood. It's people in New York. It's the Netflix. It's Facebook, TikTok. All these individuals that are pushing, these groups and individuals are pushing this cultural Marxist agenda, and you wonder why your kids are coming out thinking a certain way or going against their parents. Yes, it is. It's a institutional thing that they're pushing also.
Very good. Very good. Fourth question. When I campaigned for governor, I participated in 4 debates, so I got to hear the lieutenant governor candidates, the governor candidates, the Senate candidates. And I can tell you that the people who won the debates were not the people who won the election. And the media did not cover the people who won the debates. So my question is, there's talk recently about the lieutenant governor of PA, which right now is elected. They want that person appointed. But in light of the fact that the Commonwealth Foundation spent $2 million on the lieutenant governor race. Now, when we run, we don't have big budgets. I didn't have a big budget. Teddy, you didn't probably have a big budget either. Somebody gives you $2 million, you're going to win. You're going to win in those smaller races. So in light of that, should the lieutenant governor be elected or appointed? And give me your comments on the Commonwealth Foundation dumping a ton of money into particular campaigns. And Soros does that also to get district attorneys elected, and then they don't prosecute crime. Teddy, go first.
So I don't think it really matters, because money's going to buy the position, whether it's appointed or elected. It doesn't matter.
Good answer.
Okay? Now John brought up Commonwealth Partners, Commonwealth Leadership Fund, Commonwealth. These guys are Democrats that masquerade as Republicans, okay? So I actually just broke this on my show, In the Trenches, about a week, 2 weeks ago. So we did some homework, and Jeff Yaz, I'm going to take more than 90 seconds on this one. I hope it's okay.
You want to concede your time?
I'll concede.
There you go.
See,
All right. Jeff Yaz, Pennsylvania's richest man, goes to a synagogue in Philadelphia with guess who? Josh Shapiro. Okay? Commonwealth Partners, Commonwealth Leadership Fund is funded primarily by one donor, Jeff Yaz. In 2016, they gave Shapiro close to $150,000 for, I got to stand up, I get fired up now. They gave Shapiro about $150,000, a Democrat, for his run for Attorney General. In 2020, Heather Heidelbaugh was the Republican nominee for Attorney General to go against Josh Shapiro. Commonwealth Partners backed her. Then she was getting too close to winning. There was a conversation between Shapiro and Jeff Yaz, allegedly. So I got to throw that in. At the synagogue in Philadelphia, coming down the home stretch, Matt Brule, who is Jeff Yaz's shoeshine boy. Mustache Matt. Mustache Matt runs Commonwealth Partners. He's in charge of the money. He withdrew funds from Heather Heidelbaugh, and if you recall, she came this close to beating Josh Shapiro for Attorney General in 2020. That would have ended Josh Shapiro's political career. 2022, Mustache Matt, with his sugar daddy's money, Jeff Yaz, they come in with about $20 million against Doug Mastriano in the primary. Now, they supported candidates and other. I didn't even get a meeting with them, and the reason being,
I didn't either.
I'm too close to Trump. These are never Trumpers. These are old school establishment, I own you Republicans. Didn't even get a meeting with them. Spent $2 million on the books against me and another $2 million off the books. $4 million. They colluded with the liberal media. Okay? There's no loyalty in politics, folks. They're all for sale. They're all like cheap whores. Okay? And the sooner you realize that, the more you're going to wake up and see what's going on. The only way we can fix big money in politics is the legislators who these groups own need to come together and say, you know what, in any statewide race in Pennsylvania, you can only spend $250,000 in a general and $250,000 in a primary. Exclude outside funds. No, I'm going to buy you and own you PACs. But the problem is you'll never see that passed because 90% of the legislators in Harrisburg are bought and paid for by Commonwealth Fund and Commonwealth Partners. That's why nothing gets done.
And thank God Mastriano, who didn't get the $20 million, actually beat the candidate they were backing. So we got to vote for him. Have to vote for him. You know, I ran against him and I criticized him and I couldn't wait to debate him. I would have crushed him, by the way. And but hey, I'm helping him. I gave him my talking points. I gave him my 24-point Shapiro attack points, and I gave him my plan. And I think I had the best plan for Pennsylvania. And I'll help the guy as much as I can because we have to win. There is no alternative. All right, fifth question. Let's start with Frank. President Trump has been persecuted since day one. Since he is our candidate, is this election interference?
Absolutely 100%. Driven by the media. When Teddy talks about the Reichstag fires, the media wants to burn America down. They're the ones that are dividing us. They will pit your neighbor against you. They will pit anything and everything against you if you happen to support Donald Trump. But I have news for you. Whether it's George W. Bush or Ron DeSantis or Donald Trump, they're doing the same thing. They're a little bit rabid with Trump, but yes, John, absolutely.
Darryl.
John, give me that question again, brother.
The question was, President Trump has been persecuted since day one. Is this election interference since he's our candidate?
Absolutely, it's election interference, okay? You take a look at Twitter and Facebook to where they banned him for life on social media. Folks, that's how a lot of people get their message out, is on social media. I have the second largest amount of followers on social media for conservatives in Pennsylvania. There's only one guy that beats me.
Me?
No, that's Doug. Doug beats me by a couple thousand, okay? But Zuckerberg and the Zuckbucks, they don't like the kind of shit that I put on social media. So I get warnings every day. You're going to lose your account. You're going to lose your account. You're going to lose your account. All right? How are conservatives supposed to constantly put their message out when you're being silenced by big tech? That's an issue. That is political interference. Because how are you going to run for office and put a message out if the left runs the platforms that you're using to put your message out?
Yeah, Darryl.
Oh, definitely. You know, in 2016, after President Trump won, there was talking in the city. You know, he's going to send all the blacks back to Africa and Spanish people all back to Mexico. He was going to do this. He was going to do that. We better be afraid. And I'm talking to him. I said, well, where did you hear this stuff from? Oh, CNN told us. MSNBC said this stuff. I said, well, before Donald Trump won the election, what was he like? Well, he was hanging out with Oprah. He was hanging out with P. Diddy. He was hanging out with all these hip-hop stars, Mike Tyson, Michael Jackson, Kanye, NAACP awards. And I asked him, listen, are you seriously believing this? And this was the first time where I realized that the media has so much control over not just African Americans in the inner city areas and suburbs, but a generation of Americans. A generation of Americans. When they had I talk about it in my book, when they had the pink rallies. And the pink rallies was a girl on a bus. She was on a train. And they had a pink rally in New Jersey. So I sat next to her. She didn't know who I was. So I said, where are you coming from? Oh, we had this rally, and she said, against Donald Trump, President Trump? And she said, yes. So I said, why? Why are you rallying? Because I hate him. Why do you hate him? I wish he would get assassinated. These was the women in pink. And I said, do you care about his children? How would his children feel? She said she didn't care. This is the madness that is out there. And this was an Irish girl. And I'm like, well, what is wrong with you? He's the president of the United States. He won like Obama won. He stole the election. She said that in 2016. He stole the election. Because who said it? CNN said it. MSNBC said it. This is the mindset of individuals who listen to CNN, MSNBC, all these crazy radio stations, TV stations. And something has to be done. And people need to wake up, read more, understand what's happening in America. That's the part about the cultural Marxism that has taken over our inner cities and suburbs.
Teddy.
Darryl, I just want to do a quick follow-up on that. Folks, if you're over the age of 50, you remember the days when you had 3 channels on TV, and you come home, and you turn on the news, and it was not politically biased. They would report facts, and that was it. What happened is, over the past 40-some years, and it's on both sides, okay, we're not innocent here either, I'll come out and say it.
Tell it.
Is everybody adds their own political spin to it. CNN, MSNBC, CBS, Fox
News.
Okay? Everybody adds a political spin to it.
Fox is owned by Disney, by the way.
Yeah.
FAUN.
And Paul Ryan's on the board. So now, when older folks in general, I'm one of you guys now, so I'm not talking shit, okay? I'm one of yous. when older folks in general turn on the news, they've been conditioned from the time they were kids. Well, it was on the news, it must be true. That's what the media has done to people.
Very good. All right, next question. Let's talk about censorship. I already mentioned how the Biden question was removed from the Lawrence County debate. When I was campaigning, I could not get my message out on Facebook. I started to notice that if I included a link or a picture, I was shadow banned. It would show up days later, or I got almost just under 5,000 people on my page, and I'd get 3 likes. But if I just put a one-liner or 2-liner, or my daughter signed a modeling contract, 600 likes. Yeah, I knew something was wrong, right? So Google, I just read Google spams conservative emails 3 times higher than other search engines. And I see that on my newsletter, Never Socialist. When it comes through Gmail, it has a spam warning. It comes through Comcast, it comes right to me, you know? Others are websites are deplatformed, demonetized, PayPal. Somebody was just telling me just going to fine you $2,500 if you say something that's conservative. So how do we create a level playing field with big tech? I actually do have the answer, and it came from Clarence Thomas, but I'll tell you the answer at the end. So Teddy goes first.
I'm going to keep this short because I want to hear John's answer. All right? Folks, I've got over 112,000 followers on my page on social media. Same thing with John. I'll post something up, maybe 10 likes. I get warnings every day. Twitter, my Twitter's been purged like 4 times. I was over 80,000. Now I'm down. It dropped me down to 12,000. That was built back up to 52,000 followers on Twitter. I post something, maybe 1 reaction, 2 reactions, to where I guess before I was labeled as a domestic terrorist, I'd get thousands and thousands. Thanks, Frank. See, Frank rented the buses for D.C. I went with him.
Teddy, get on the bus.
Frank begged me to go. And then the weekend after, we end up as caricatures on the front page of the Scranton Times riding in a bus together,
the Sedition
bus. Express, to D.C. They did get my tie color right, so I'm happy about that.
Which, by the way, from that Facebook post, the FBI did use that against me. It's okay the Scranton Times made it, but I shared it.
Darryl.
Oh, definitely. Like 2 years ago, so I'm talking about 2016, I have the On Fire show on Facebook. I would get 30, 40, 50,000 viewers at one time. And then next thing you know, I went down to 1,000. And it was so sad. I was hurt. Okay, what's happening? And I didn't realize that, that Facebook really and somehow changed their algorithms. They did something to stop people from watching me. They even, when I had they got to my internet, which I would use a certain internet system to do my show. So basically I had to change over, because every time I would try to log on Facebook Live, they would shut me down for 10 days. Then do another live, and they'll shut me down for another 10 days. And I realized it must be the internet server. So I went to another server, and it was okay. I mean, this is technology, and that's what we talk about in the next book, Welcome to America. I mean, you don't realize these things are happening until they happen to you, and you're like, what happened? Why is these things happening to us as a people? And it's sad, but we have to do something. We have the power. We might have to just listen. Nothing wrong with starting your own. If they don't want us, let's start our own Facebook. Let's start our own YouTube. Let's start our own Instagram.
I like Trump face. How's that?
Yeah, I'm on Truth. But we have to start our own. We have to get all the individuals together with the top technology people, and let's say we want to start our own, because the liberal left are not going to listen to us. So that's what at least we have to start our own.
Yeah, I agree. We either start our own and get some Republican billionaires to fund us. Frank, did you want to say something?
Yeah, we have Gab out there, Gab, G-A-B. That's a good platform. But just a quick example. When Trump was getting elected 2016, I made a quick video. Lou Barletta was talking about how to elect delegates. I shared that. That went up to 1.2 million views. 1.2 million views within 2 weeks. Now, I get 10 likes. Absolutely being censored. It's the big tech.
But here's the legal answer to the censorship question, and I actually said it at the debates. It's on my website, Vote for Ventry, and it came from Clarence Thomas. What you do, I worked for UPS, they're a common carrier. A package is a package, you can't discriminate. Hotels are designated common carriers. Whoever shows up for a room gets a room, you can't discriminate. So you make big tech a common carrier. They can't censor you anymore. That's how you fix it legally. Okay, next question.
Good one, John.
Number 7. I noticed this on the campaign trail. When I spoke in front of committees and I spoke in front of patriot groups like this, it was like night and day, even though they were all Republicans. It was incredible. It's almost like it's genetic. You know, you're either a liberal or you're a conservative, but even if you're a conservative, you have Rhino committee members and then you have patriots who want to fight. So how do we wake up the turn-the-cheek Republicans and get them all on the same page? Because they will work against the patriot winner of the campaign, like Mastriano and others. And I'll give you an example. In Lancaster, when I spoke with Leah Hoops to that patriot group down there, the state rep got up. He said, I shouldn't say this. He was one of the only 2 Republicans who didn't vote for Act 77. And he said, the night, 3 days later, that Trump officially lost the count, the Republican state reps were high-fiving and hugging each other. So there's your problem. There's your problem. But how do we get our Republicans to not sabotage us?
You got to keep calling them out.
Vote them out.
You got to keep calling them out. So I only went, like John was on the campaign trail. I did statewide. I only went to 1 GOP Lincoln breakfast. Only 1. Now keep in mind, during signature time, you only need 1,000 to get on the ballot. I got 12,000 signatures to get on the ballot. And the only reason I went to the 1 GOP event, there's a nice lady here today, her name's Ava. She got a table at this Lincoln breakfast and invited me as her guest. So I went. I got there, they're like, oh, you're going to speak today. I'm like, okay, cool, whatever. So I got up there to speak, and I said, folks, the reason I'm running for office is because I hate politicians. And you could have heard a pin drop, because 90% of that room was politicians or people who wanted to be politicians. And I think what we need to do is make these people feel as uncomfortable as possible, okay? Take the fight to them and let them know we are not going to bend the knee to the establishment. And John, I'll wrap this up quick, but John makes a point, you know, whenever there's a Rhino candidate, some establishment hack they threw a shit ton of money behind, you know, they're the first ones to come out and say, oh, well, everybody's got to come together and get behind them. But now we've got a patriot candidate for governor. And what's the establishment doing to help them? Nothing. What's the big money doing to help them? Nothing. Keep that in mind. Keep that in mind next time they put some bought and paid for cardboard cutout in front of you and say, we have to get behind this person.
Yeah. Let me just add something, too. I took on my state rep when Act 77 got passed, because it made absolutely no sense why we would champion a Democrat talking point. And I didn't back down. I'm the male version of Leah, right? And we got into a heated argument at that event with my state rep. He makes a video in the rotunda of Harrisburg calling me out. I made my own video because I actually got a cameraman and spent 4 years on television. I got like 3 times as many likes as him. But then I receive a letter in the mail from my committee chair, the D5 committee chair, I'm kicked out of the Republican Party that I got elected to as a committee member. So everywhere I went, I passed this letter out. This is your Rhino Republican committees. And they reinstated me, but I'm not on the email list to attend meetings. So, Darrell, go ahead.
You know, one of the things that I'm a part of is the Coalition for Election Integrity in Pennsylvania. And as a people, we have to join organizations like integrity groups to challenge the who? Who do we challenge? The establishment, the rhinos, okay? And because the rhinos, as in Pennsylvania, there was a lot of rhinos did not support President Trump. And that was amazing. How do you not support the president, a Republican president of the United States of America? And that was so disappointing. So you have to join organizations. You have to organize, strategize to take out these rhinos because they're destroying the state of Pennsylvania. And look what they're doing to Mastriano. So if Mastriano, he will win, but if he don't win, who do you blame? The rhinos. Take out the rhinos. Is that
Matt
right?
Brulé at Commonwealth
Say
Partners
it.
Commonwealth Leadership Fund.
Take
That's
out
who
the
to blame.
rhinos. Take out the rhinos. Take out the rhinos. Take out the rhinos. Take out the rhinos.
He's waiting for you to chant it.
Yes.
Go ahead, Frank.
You guys are being too kind calling them rhinos and Republicans.
I got another
Me
word.
and Mark Levin
I got
call
another-
them
Frank.
repubics.
Frank, I have another word that we use in the inner city.
Repubics. What is it?
I don't want to say it. Well, there's another word we call them in the inner city.
Here's what we do. What is it?
No.
Now, this is being videoed.
You got kids in the audience. You got children and kids in the audience.
Yeah,
Then
Frank.
they go home and start repeating what I'm saying, and they get pissed off. The parents get pissed.
Frank.
I'll make it quick. So you have to primary them. That's the key, primary. And Trump has a problem. When he gets reelected, he has to call us to serve in his cabinet, not all these rhinos and repubics. I'd rather have all of us in his cabinet than anybody else that's been in Washington, D.C., because they all make bad decisions, and they're all just in it for the money. Us, we're patriots. We're here for the country. So it's primary, and get Trump and your local representatives to put us in the office, not someone that's anointed and is not going to care about we the people or the Constitution of these United States.
All right. I would love to be the Secretary of State. Press Secretary.
Sec
One
State.
of the two. One of the
Press
two.
Sec.
Press Secretary. Oh.
Okay. Question number 8. I just saw something recently said that Satan is very intelligent, and his arguments against God are actually very compelling, and they kind of make sense, right? So since the progressives take their orders from Satan, and when you hear them spin things, at first it starts to make a lot of sense, right? But it's not. It's always the opposite of the truth. So progressives, they want to replace the Electoral College. And in Alaska, they fell for it. They put a ranking system in. You get ranked 1, 2, 3 on your vote, then they add it all up. And Sarah Palin got 60% of the vote and lost the Senate election. So what are your thoughts on the Electoral College? Teddy.
You know what? Let's do it at a state level. That way we won't have Philadelphia and Pittsburgh choosing who our people are every election cycle in Pennsylvania. Okay. You know what? I'm being devil's advocate here.
Yeah, I was about to say that.
Devil's
Devil.
advocate. I'm not for the electoral process that they're looking at doing. But again, as a counter argument to that, okay, let's say, because right now in the state of Pennsylvania, to win a statewide race, you need to campaign heavily in 2 areas, Philadelphia and Pittsburgh. How many people here today are from Philadelphia and Pittsburgh? Well, besides you two.
You're okay, John.
What about your voice? What about what you want? What about the issues that affect your family? So there does need to be a change in these statewide races in Pennsylvania. There does need to be a change. And that's my counter argument.
Oh,
Good.
you know, I definitely agree with you. It definitely needs to be a change. But also, you have to have Republican candidates go into these inner city areas and talk with people, understand what they're going through. Don't be afraid to go in these areas in Philadelphia. I know I'm afraid to go, but if you got about 10, 15 people.
I'm not.
I know. If you go 15, you got 15 people with you, you got your guns on you. Listen, people are suffering more than ever before because of the Democratic Party. You have to go into these areas and talk to people and understand what they are going through. And most people, if you're a sincere politician, they will support you. Because if you look what happened in the riots, they were upset with the Democratic Party, they was upset with the Democratic mayor, so they tried to burn down half the city. I was there, I seen it all. But, you know, we have to be better politicians, better communicators, and have more empathy for the people that are suffering in Philadelphia and Pittsburgh, because they are suffering, and even around the inner city areas of New Jersey and all the areas that are blue cities. We can take these blue cities, but we have to focus on these areas and be empathetic and understand, have empathy and understanding about their situation. You know, that's why people love President Trump. President Trump, took 17% of the black vote in the nation? That's a hell of a percentage.
Well, they didn't know who they were voting for.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Remember?
Yeah, we're all Uncle Tom's, house people.
All right, Frank?
You want to be disenfranchised? Do away with the electoral college and
Right.
electoral voting system. You will never win another election.
Oh, we never.
And by the way,
California rules.
yes, California, Alaska. By the way, the latest scheme that the Pennsylvania state legislature, that is Republic controlled, they want to have open primaries. They want to have open primaries after the awakening of the people. So you do that, and you know what? Listen, the Republicans are, like John had said before, they're good enough at attacking their own candidates and people. They don't need Democrats coming in. So if you ever go to open primaries, that will be the end of the Republican/Republic Party. And you don't want third and fourth parties or fifth parties. Just look at Israel and the Likud parties, or even look at the EU with all the problem they have with coalitions. You're Republican and take over the Republican Party, or you're Democrat and take back the Democrat Party. But no third parties, no ruining of the Electoral College. We'll be disenfranchised eternally.
And Shapiro wants 16-year-olds to vote because at that age they're kind of liberal and they're not adults and they don't know the work world or the real world. All right, next question. Prior to Act 77, ever being considered there was something else that should have happened, and I would have never considered Act 77. Judicial Watch sued Pennsylvania to clean up the voter rolls. There were 800,000 inactive voters on the rolls in Pennsylvania. My guess is about 500,000 in Philadelphia. They removed 4 names, even though they were sued. Allegheny County did remove just under half. That still left like 80,000 inactive voters. Why didn't our legislature do anything about that? They still haven't done anything about that. How do you know you can run a clean election in 3 weeks when the inactive voters are still on the rolls, and that's where they get the names when they do this bait and switch?
Backfill.
And and those are the people voting, even though you sent the envelope in. The only way to know you got a clean election is you clean up the inactive rolls. So how do we get Pennsylvania to do that? And especially the Republicans who can force it, they've been sued. Teddy.
I'll tell you why the Republicans aren't doing it. Most of them are in safe red districts. Their jobs are protected. And they have a lack of cojones. They have backbone to do it. Now keep in mind, and I mentioned this earlier, the organization that funds many of these Republican elected officials in the Senate and the House, they're not for election integrity. They're just for status quo. Shut up, do what I tell you to do, and we'll write you another check you can cash in 4 to 6 years or 2 to 6 years. That's exactly why. Folks, I've been an investigator 25 years. 15 as a cop. I've held a PI license for 6 years. I was an infantryman in the military. I was cross-trained in military intelligence, ISR, intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance. You got to get up pretty early to pull one over on me. And I'm on to them. It's digging. It's finding what you need to find and knowing where to go to find it. They're not doing it because their sugar daddies are telling them not to.
And 57 of the 67 counties in Pennsylvania are Republican. They win. That's why we win the legislature, but we don't win the governor.
Exactly.
Because they have the numbers, we have the counties. Darrell.
You know, what, one of the things is that we can also do, you know, I believe in nonviolent civil disobedience, direct action. You need to go down to the Capitol building and shut it down. Bring 100,000 people, bring 200,000 people. If you really believe in election integrity, and if you say you're a Christian, and you want the next generation of young Christian brothers and sisters to have a fair election, you want your state to be right, then sometimes you will have to sacrifice. Just like the ones in January 6th sacrificed, went to jail, and they sacrificed for a better country and an election. We may have to do the same thing at the Capitol building in Pennsylvania. We may have, nonviolently, we may have to shut down bridges, shut down highways. If God is on our side, and if we're Republicans and we're conservatives, then God is on our side. Martin Luther King said, "Truth forever on the shadow, wrong forever on the throne, yet that shadow, that statue forms a future, and behind the dim unknown stands God within the shadows, keeping watch above his own." God is always in the shadows protecting us. He's protecting us because, you know, we're his people. And if we're his people, and if we're his right people, you know, then everything will be all right. But you have to believe that, and you got to believe that America and Pennsylvania is worth fighting for. And if it's worth fighting for, then you have to do what you have to do. And if you don't believe we're fighting for the right cause, and if you're just going to keep allowing it, just stay home. Watch TV, Dancing with the Stars or whatever. Turn on Twitter, Facebook, and laugh and sing, because America has been taken from us. Will be trying to take from us. But you have to stand up. You can't be afraid. Okay? That's what you have to do. You know, you have to stand up. So to finish that quote, I kind of made a mistake. He said, "Truth forever on the scaffold, wrong forever on the throne. Yet that scaffold sways the future. And behind the dim unknown stands God within the shadows, keeping watch above his own." Like I said, God is always in the shadow. And if we're going to do something, we're going to march and protest, he is with us. All we have to do is call on our Lord and Savior to be with us. And he is with us. There's nothing that the Democrats and the Rhino Republicans can do to us if we have God on our side. And if we always continually to do the right thing. Protest, organize, that's the key to winning Pennsylvania's governorship and changing these policies within the state of Pennsylvania.
Very good. Frank?
Yeah, just a reminder, that legislature is Republican-controlled, Republican-controlled. And no wonder John won his debates, because he's fact-based. I saved this on my phone, that Judicial Watch versus the 1993 National Voter Registration Act. That's federal law. Federal law that says after every election, they're supposed to clean up the voter rolls. That's 1993 federal law, and they removed 2 names. Do you
No, 4 in
understand
Philly, 4.
why your elections are so screwed up? Because we're paying people and they're not doing the job.
Yep.
Part of the reason they're not doing the job is because we don't reach out to them and say, "Hey, stop this." Or like Darrell alluded to, you know what? get 20 of us, 30 of us out in front of their office and ask them, why aren't the voter rolls cleaned up? This is 1993 federal legislation. Just imagine if I did something like that. I'd be back in jail. But guess what? No, these guys are the guys we're paying to do it, and they're not.
All right,
Frank, you did six
Yes,
what?
Daryl.
You did what? 60 days.
60 days,
And look at
straight
his
out of
60 days. He's
46.
back on his feet because he knew the guy was on his side.
He rented 3 buses.
Yeah, 3 buses. So
4 buses.
4 buses. So he's living proof.
15 days a bus.
He's living proof that God was on his side. Can you imagine if we had hundreds of thousands of people going to the Harrisburg? Can you imagine how powerful that would be? Singing, Precious Lord, Take My Hand? Singing all these powerful gospel songs.
And it's peaceful, right?
Yeah, it's peaceful.
Just like here, we're peaceful.
Yeah, have to
but
be
it's
peaceful.
pressure.
Have to be peaceful. Last 2 questions are
Does it
just
have to
30-second
be? Does it have
answers.
to be?
How many seconds?
30 seconds each, and that's
I
it.
don't
All right. How do we get the JFK Democrats to vote Republican? Because they're actually like us. They think like us. How do we get those JFK Democrats to now vote Republican? Teddy.
If they drive a car or pay bills, it shouldn't be too hard. Real quick, stopped at the gas station the other day. The lady that owns the gas station showed me a sheet. She just had to pay $6.20 a gallon for diesel fuel in her tanks. That's her cost. Her cost. You'll never get the rich elites, but you can get the working class.
And diesel is the first type of fuel that comes off the refinery and the cheapest one. Frank, what's your answer to that?
You know what? It's so easy. I would say price is truth. What they're paying, I don't even think we'll have to campaign and lobby. They'll just be sick and tired of paying for everything, food, gas, energy, whatever it is. Give them a little bit more time, John, and they'll come right around because we're being punished, but so are they.
Daryl.
You know, in New Jersey, where I'm from, Phil Murphy almost lost the election because he supported the LGBT bill. And there were Democrats that said, okay, I'm not supporting this. And once you see what type of the filth that the Democratic Party is pushing, I think there's that generation that say, okay, I can't be a part of this. You know, my Christianity doesn't just say no to this. And I think that's what has to happen. It's happening now. There are Christians that I can't support the Democratic Party with the filth that they're pushing. You know, boys can be girls, girls can be boys. Who supports that? And as Christians, you know, there are people that are saying no to this. And that's why I think that will help Democrats, JFK Democrats, come over to the Republican Party. And also the economy.
Frank.
You know, keep that transgender crap up in the schools, and you'll have the mama bears. That's what's driving them.
Yeah.
School curriculum and that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
That's a good point. When I campaigned, the women,
That's the
the mama bears, man alive, they were driving this. All right, last question, because we're out of time now, is just going to be yes or no. When I put my newsletter out, the Never Socialist newsletter, I never used the word Democrat. I used National Socialist Democrats, because that's what they are. They're pushing socialism, and that was the Nazi party in Germany. So my question is, should we refer to Democrats as the National Socialist Democrats? Is that the word that we should be using for them?
I'll let you guys reply.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And you want to hear more about it? Check out my book, 37 Days, right over there in the book section.
Frank.
Yes, indeed.
All right. That's it. I think we had a good panel.
All right, I'm
Thank
ready.
you.
Okay.
Rock and roll.
And right now, very shortly, I think Amanda's here, we're going to have a fashion show, concealed carry fashion show.
Thank you, Darryl.
With Amanda Suffercool. Amanda, where you at? Amanda, hey, we've kept up pretty good on time in getting this all together, so it is 3:30, and that's when it's supposed to happen. Yes, right there, baby. Look what time it is. 3:33.
Okay, my folks are, you've got a 15-minute break in case anybody needs to go to the pate, get a cookie, get something to eat. There's some amazing desserts. My folks are going to be back here at 3:45 ready to do the concealed carry fashion show. And they are looking so forward to it. So give us a chance to get the stage reset up and take a quick break and then come on back.